Okay, wow, we have a lot to catch up on. There has been a lot happening. Welcome back to my knitting channel. My name is Nadine, and you can find me at yourknittingbestie on Instagram, Ravelry, and here on YouTube. On this channel, you can expect to find me talking about my knitting and what it's like being an Australian knitter. So, today's video is a knit and chat, and generally just a bit of a catch up, because I freely admit I've gone missing off the face of the earth for quite some time, and I'm so excited to finally be back here talking to you. Feels like it's been forever. So, there are some things that I have kind of kept tucked away and haven't made public this year. So, finally in this video, I'm going to just generally do a bit of a catch up on everything that's been happening. A bit of a chatty knit and chat, hence the name. And then the next video and the next one will go back to regularly scheduled knitting content. But this one will just be a bit of a catch up on what I've been up to. So I would love to hear what you guys have been up to as well in the intervening period. Because yeah, gosh, it just feels like forever. Anyway, I was trying to think about, oh yeah, so what I'm going to knit on, gosh, I'm rusty. What I'm going to knit on is this sock, which is the second sock to my engagement sock, which I have currently lost, but I'm sure I'll find by the time I finish this one. So yeah, this is just a straightforward vanilla sock. Nothing special. I'll put the name of the yarn on the screen. So yeah, I was thinking about where I would even start to tell you guys about what's been happening. And I think there's a certain order that things have to be told in. And I think the first one to get out of the way is the biggest one. So it kind of informs the rest of it, and that is, of course, that I'm pregnant. So there is a little bit happening this year. So I'm approaching the third trimester now. It feels like it's gone so quickly because, when did we find out? We found out really not long after we got engaged, which reminds me I've forgotten my rings again. Whoops. Anyway, we found out not long after we'd gotten engaged. So it was a bit of it wasn't a surprise, but of course when it works, it's always a surprise. So that has been a bit of a new experience because of course it'll be our first baby. And that first trimester, oh my goodness, I was really not prepared for exactly how rough that first trimester would be. I luckily didn't have any of the kind of severe nausea, you know, that one that has the special name that I can never pronounce. I didn't have that. I just had a lot of nausea constantly, and the fatigue was nuts. I never really appreciated before how difficult it is to be trying to keep up with your whole life and not telling anyone while feeling just absolutely awful. So full respect to everyone who's dealt with that nausea in the first trimester, because wow, that is a lot. So the terrible thing that happened was that during the first trimester, and I know this happened to Bethany from Well Loved Knits as well, she just completely went off knitting. And I remember watching her videos, and in the back of my mind, because I'm so obsessed with knitting, I was like, oh, I'm sure that would never happen to me, even if I were pregnant. Yeah, it absolutely happened to me. Absolutely. I couldn't even pick up my needles for some reason. I just completely lost the zing that I usually have for knitting. And to be honest, quite a lot of things, because you really don't feel like doing anything when you are super duper nauseous and exhausted. So I had a bit of a knitting hiatus And I felt awful about it because this channel isn't overly established, and I was really passionate about doing it, and I just could not bring myself to be on camera really or to knit, which was so unlike me. Michael was kind of worried, honestly, because I would just sit there on the couch with nothing in my hands. And he would always say that I hate to have idle hands, which is very true. So, yeah, he would see me sitting there and just kind of be like, "Are you like okay?" And I'd look at him and be like, "No." So I'm very thankful that that has passed because, wow, that was just, yeah, it was a challenge. A very worthwhile challenge, of course, but a challenge nonetheless. And then I finally moved on from the nausea. I think it was for me around week 14. And in week 14, I got COVID. You might remember that. I did record a video then because I had a burst of energy and I cast on and a burst of inspiration. And I really wanted to have a project to work on while I was at home sick. So that was when I started my ranunculus, which is still going, but much more progressed now, I'm glad to say. But yes, I had COVID, and then not long after that, we decided that we would get married this year, and we decided that we would get married within about a month. Um, and having now done it, thankfully, I realise how much of an endeavour that was, and perhaps a smidge ambitious. But I'm very, very happy to have done it, and very grateful to Michael's mum, who is fabulous with organising and events and all of that sort of thing, and she helped us a tremendous amount. So honestly, if she hadn't helped us, it wouldn't have happened until maybe 5 years from now. So we decided to start planning that. The same time we had our bathroom renovation going. I think I mentioned that to you guys. So it was a pretty busy month. And then in that same period, I got influenza A, which is quite bad for pregnant women apparently, and it was quite bad for me as well. And that lasted for quite some time until just before the wedding, actually, and I started getting a little bit better. And then, just before the wedding, like days before the wedding, I had a couple good days, and then I went to the doctor because I felt awful. And it turns out I had come down with secondary infections from the influenza A. I don't know. But I had a lower respiratory infection, a sinus infection, and as it turns out, I later found out, a middle ear infection as well. So I had all of those things on my wedding day, which thankfully the doctor had said was pretty difficult to spread around. So it was okay to go ahead with the wedding. But some combination of those things meant that I completely lost my voice. I was squeaking. In fact, I'll pause this video and put up a video that I took because I thought it would be funny to look back on of my voice on my wedding day. So I'll put that up now.
Let's do a little voice recording. This, for prosperity, is what my voice was like when Michael and I got married in 2024 on the 10th of August. So I did get my vows out though, and apparently people heard them. So
even though the microphone didn't work.
Even though the microphone was broken.
So that was the voice I had, and unbeknownst to me, when we walked into the venue, the microphone died. So Michael had his beautiful, strong voice that everyone could hear, and then I squeaked out my vows. But apparently, at least some people heard them, and Michael, who I guess is the most important one, heard them as well. So success on that front. But gosh, what a story, because with the middle ear infection, I also couldn't hear out of my left ear. So I was half deaf and couldn't speak on my wedding day. I kept trying to tell people that it was probably going to be the quietest day of Michael's life. So yeah, I'll pop up some photos because it was a really, really lovely day, and I'm so glad that it went as well as it did. I didn't end up having time or honestly the inclination at that point to knit anything for it, but I did take along the cardigan that I knit for my sister for her wedding, which was a slightly different shade of white but close enough. And I ended up not needing it on the day because it was really quite warm. So that worked out perfectly, actually. So yeah, I'll pop up some photos. And thankfully, you can't tell from the photos that I was so unwell. So that is certainly a blessing. And then while the wedding was happening, which was just a really small affair, we just did it at a restaurant, and we had the ceremony very quickly at the front of the restaurant, and then just served lunch straight away. So, and we did our photos before we got there. So it was just, we could just enjoy the time there without having to duck out for photos. And I think it was really lovely. It was a French restaurant. The food was delicious. It was a beautiful restaurant on the inside. So yeah, really happy with how the day went. So while that was happening, we were living with Michael's parents because our bathrooms were being done, which was the big reno that was happening for us. And I think it was kind of prompted by the news of the incoming baby, because we just had one big bathroom before that. And then, so instead of the one big bathroom, we decided that it would be invaluable to have two. So we split that one down the middle and reclaimed some wardrobe space from our main bedroom, which is quite big and still pretty spacious, actually, luckily. So split that in two and managed to have two full bathrooms, one with a bath, slightly shorter than usual bath, but still pretty deep. So certainly usable. So yeah, we were living with Michael's parents, and then maybe a week after, I was supposed to go straight back to work after the wedding, but because I had a bunch of travel planned, I had all of these presentations I was going to do that I was so excited for. But I couldn't go because of the middle ear infection, and it would have ruptured my eardrums, which, I mean, no travel is worth that, I think. So I ended up having a week off because I was horribly, horribly sick. And probably got a bit worse after the wedding because I'd pushed myself to engage, even though I had no voice and all of the rest of that. So probably a week or so later, the bathrooms were mostly finished and we could move in. But because we reclaimed the wardrobe space in our main bedroom, all of that stuff had to find another home in our very tiny home. So it's turned into a bit of a reorganization project as well, which is why the background here looks a bit different to my usual setup, if you can recall from my last video many moons ago. It's a bit different because we've reconfigured everything in an attempt to free up a room for a nursery, which is an exciting project, but is definitely a big one. And we've had to rebuild some wardrobes for ourselves in the main bedroom, which we just did from IKEA. And we're still in the process of getting them together and anchored and then moving everything into those wardrobes. And we're probably crazy. I think we are crazy. But we're thinking about doing a renovation to the kitchen before the baby comes. Does anyone else have this urge? Someone told me the other day that they think I'm nesting. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. I think it just makes sense. And then, and it's too early in the pregnancy to be like nesting. And then I realized, yeah, that I'm coming up on the third trimester because the baby's due sometime in December. Um, so maybe it is nesting. When you guys, if you have children, when you were pregnant, did you have any crazy nesting urges? And did it look like this? Because I thought nesting might, I don't know, in my head, I think it looked like knitting things for the baby or, you know, making the nursery look really nice as opposed to like huge structural changes to your home. But also, I think I can recall a couple people who've been like, oh yeah, we're doing a reno and the baby's coming. And so I don't know, maybe it's a bit more common than I thought. But anyway, so now that all of that illness has passed and the wedding is sorted, and one day I'll remember to put on my rings. And yeah, the ear is cleared up, so I'm doing some travel next week. Now I'm really beginning to look forward to the baby and having a little addition to our family, someone who perhaps is a reflection of Michael and I. I am so excited. I can't wait. And I'm very excited to finally have my knitting mojo back. I suddenly have the joy that I used to have when I pick up my knitting and when I think about planning future projects and all of the rest of that sort of stuff, which, yeah, I just couldn't find for a good couple months there with the nausea and then all the illness. So I am just beside myself. And I'm trying to hold myself back from planning to knit too many clothes for the baby because in a move that just breaks her mother's heart, she's going to be born in summer. So I'm afraid that putting a newborn in any sort of knitted object in summer is probably irresponsible of me. And I know if I knit anything, I will just be so tempted. Although, someone did mention to me the other day, my sister-in-law, because I have them now, my sister-in-law mentioned that in summer you do spend a lot of time in air conditioning. So maybe a little light layer, like a, I don't know, a blanket or a cardigan could be very nice. But otherwise, I'm thinking of projects like little toys or a blanket to decorate the nursery or something like that could be nice. But I'm also kind of determined to finish all of the projects that have been sitting in states of disarray for months before I move on to too many new projects. I think definitely one I want to do is a practice newborn hat because I'm going to a friend's baby shower at the end of the month, and I thought that could be a good way to practice because the hospital bag list that I got sent does say that you should bring a hat for your newborn once they make their entrance. So I was like, well, obviously that will be custom made by me. But yeah, so I really want to clear off my projects. But I'm also getting wrapped up into all of the MKAL hype that's happening at the moment. You guys have probably seen it around everywhere. I'm on the fence about it because I haven't yet finished the MKAL from last year. I really want to. And I'd given myself the same deadline as one of you lovely viewers, which was to finish it by the time the new one comes out. So I would love to do that, but also October is pretty soon. So realistically, I don't know. And also, if I'm honest, I'm like just the smidgest bit put off after all of the drama of last year. And I'm sure, like, that was the first time that happened. So I'm sure it would be unlikely, probably, to happen again. And they would be so Oops, sorry, my computer's gone to sleep. They'd be so careful not to have something like that happen for this one, I'm sure. But given the investment of time, because it's 4 full skeins of fingering weight yarn, so that's not an insignificant amount of knitting. And this time I think it's just 2 colours, right? So 2 skeins of each colour. I don't know. I wonder if maybe I might wait to see what the first clue looks like. What do you guys reckon? Are you guys buying up your yarn and having a crack at it? Or are you also a tiny bit gun shy like me? Commitment issues, maybe. Anyway, so I think that's just about everything happening in my life. It's been a big year. I'm excited for the rest of the year and to see all of the different changes that it brings. And I'm more than excited to get back into doing some videos, particularly now that knitting is back to being the joy of my life. So it doesn't feel kind of put on to do the videos because I genuinely am excited again, instead of just trying to remind myself of what I used to feel like about knitting. So yeah, would love to hear what you guys have been up to, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you in the next video, which I think will be a bit of a stock take on my current projects and maybe some plans for the next projects that I'll cast on. Side note, I think I'm getting a tiny bit better at the knit and chats, although I still have my wedding nails on. I don't usually have, I think these are acrylics. I'm not sure. They looked very pretty. They're pretty much grown out now. And I've lost one, so don't look at that one. But it's hard to knit with the longer nails on. So I think I'm actually going to try and take them off so I can get back into knitting as I'm more used to it. Okay, so yeah, that's probably about it from me for this one. I will see you in the next video. If you liked the video, I would be just delighted if you would hit like. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do consider it, because I promise there will be actual new content coming for you soon. And I'm excited to do it next year as well, because I'll be on parental leave. So fingers crossed that I will be able to do a fair bit then, although I really have no idea if that's a bit ambitious, because I know my life is about to change a fair bit. So we'll see, but I'm hopeful. Okay, thanks so much guys, and I will see you in the next video.